Hi there, it's Kevin with RogueDeckBuilder.com here with Dragons of Tarkir's first 15 spoilers. This is March the 3rd. So these are the first 15 that are out, and I just want to talk about a few of the cards here. You can go and check out MythicSpoiler.com. I think it's the best place to actually get your spoiler information. So not too impressed so far with this first batch of cards. What I really want to talk about is a lot of the new mechanics that are coming out in the set and what I feel about them. There is one mechanic that I'm incredibly excited about because I think it goes in my type of play style, and we'll talk about it when we get to it. So anyway, the first one here is this Dragon Lord Silumgar. So he is flying Death Touch. When Dragon Lord enters the battlefield, gain control of target creature or planeswalker for as long as you control the Dragon Lord. For 6 mana, yeah, it's okay. Maybe this card need like Flash or something to put it over the top, but I don't see it really seeing a lot of... I mean, Black-Blue Control might want it, but that's the same slot that the Pearl-Link Ancient and Tasigur are occupying at this moment, so I don't know. So onto the Sunscorched Regent. This is a 4/3 for 5 mana. It's got flying. That's pretty well. That's a good costed and limited anyway, just for 4/3 for 5 flying. But whenever an opponent casts a spell, put a +1/+1 counter on it, and you gain 1 life. This is absolutely going to be a limited powerhouse. I don't know how well this card will be in Standard. I don't know if it'll quite be powerful enough to see play, because it usually will be a 5/4 if they cast even one spell, then a 6/5, etc., etc., etc. Going up. In EDH, this card is going to be insane. A lot of white cards are going to want this. I think it will hit bulk prices immediately unless it sees a standard home, which again, at this point, I doubt it will. But EDH, Sunscorched Regent is going to be an amazing card. So I'm going to have to pull up this card to actually see what it's in Japanese. So this one says it's 4 mana. Whenever a dragon you control becomes a target of a spell or ability your opponent controls, Thunderbreak Regent deals 3 damage to that player. So we've seen this before on cards like Mindsparker in the past, just when they target it. And a 4/4 for 4, this card absolutely will see standard play. I think it's just the cost is perfect. A 4/4 flying for 4 is what Ash Cloud Phoenix does, and it's just like Ash Cloud Phoenix, you're going to get immediate you're going to get an effect that comes right out, and that's so important in Standard. Like, you see Siege Rhino comes into play, it gains life, does damage, and that's the type of card in Standard that you need, that immediately has some sort of impact on the board state or life totals or whatnot. So this says this is a dragon, so whenever it becomes a target of a spell or ability, it'll deal 3 damage to that player. So Burned Excess is perfect, or any sort of red aggro deck, or green red aggro deck. This is perfect because at least you're going to get a lightning, a lava spike to the face if they remove the Thunderbreaker Regent. So I am incredibly impressed with this card. Very good. And I'm doing this kind of live. A lot of these cards I actually haven't read yet, so bear with me. So these are my first reactions to it. I haven't scripted this whatsoever, and I think that makes it more pure with my commentary. This would be kind of like if I was looking these cards of opening them in a sealed environment. Anyway, Radiant Purge, 2 mana, instant, exile target multicolored creature or multicolored enchantment. This was, I think, the wrong block for this. It might see this didn't necessarily exist in Dragon's Maze. Dragon Maze, it was target player sacrifices a multicolored, or each player sacrifices a multicolored. At least this one targets. The thing I don't like about this, again, it's another exile effect. I mean, Wizards, we get it. You don't want cards to go in the battle or into the graveyard, and you really want to punish Indestructible. Indestructible keeps losing more and more value, which is either these exiled type cards. So this is going to exile target multicolored creature or multicolored enchantment. You know what? This might actually go in my Tiny Leader sideboard to take care of some of the pesky multicolored commanders. But as far as Standard, I don't know, unless we see a real multicolored card that's a problem. And right now, a lot of the problematic cards tend to be monocolored and some multicolored, but I don't think that it's really the set where you have to get rid of Siege Rhinos. I mean, you can exile Siege Rhino. I can't really think of many other multicolored. Like, I guess Jeskai Ascendancy, you can exile it. But just creature enchantment, so you can't even hit Ashiok with this. So it definitely is limited to the amount of targets you can hit, unless we see more cards that are relevant in the format. I don't really like this Radiant Purge. Again, it's a great sideboard card, though. Let's go to Silumgar's Assassin. This one is a human assassin for 1 and a black. Creatures with power greater than Silumgar's assassin can't block it. And then it's got Megamorph, which is a new mechanic which puts +1/+1 counters after it is turned face up. So you may cast this card face down as a 2/2 for 3, turn it face up at any time, and put a +1/+1, so it'll become a 3/2. When it's turned face up, destroy target creature with power 3 or less and opponent controls. We're starting to see some of these more morph and get an effect cards come out of this set. Reminds me a lot, like Onslaught had a ton. Most of the morph cards actually did something when you unmorph them. And target creature with power 3 or less, that could be a Courser of Krufix, of course, would be the best target, but it's a lot of mana to dump in just to kill just to kind of use like a smother type effect and then have a 3/2 body. I mean, it's a good card though. 2/1, I definitely would love this in a draft or sealed pool. I mean, it's absolutely amazing in draft or sealed, but I don't know if it's quite there with standard. Let's go on to the Dragon Tempest. Whenever a creature with flying enters the battlefield under your control, it gains haste until end of turn. Whenever a dragon enters the battlefield under your control, it deals X damage to target creature or player with X number of dragons you control. So it gets that M14, was that Scourge of Valkus ability. When a dragon enters the battlefield, it deals damage, equal number of dragons. Pretty sweet. And it will give dragons haste. A lot of dragons already have haste. I mean, this is definitely more of a Timmy card than anything, unless, again, we see enough dragons to really make this worth it, to make a dragon tribal in standard, which I highly doubt it. This is definitely for the casual player, and I guess you get some sort of value. It's just, you don't have enough dragons. Well, now, coming back to this dragon here, the 4/4 for 4, and then we have the Stormbreath dragon in standard now, which is easily the best dragon. I don't think there's enough, though, to quite make a dragon tribal, or if you'd want to make a dragon tribal with the cards available. All right, and again, this is a dragon set, so I might end up biting my tongue here if a ton of dragons come out in the uncommon and even common range, where, again, dragons have flooded this plane, and therefore I could definitely see them printing common dragons, and then I might bite my tongue with this card. You might be able to actually build a dragon tribal. Anyway, it's going to Profound Journey. This is a 7-mana sorcery, and it looks like Rebound is coming back. I love Rebound. Very, very cool mechanic. Casting a spell twice, double the value. Awesome, awesome, awesome. So I'm glad to see that back. Return target permanent card from your graveyard to the battlefield, and it's permanent card. So this is a unique ability because the only one that I can think of is the Return to Ravnica Orzhov. What is that called? I'm trying to think of the card, but it says return target permanent from the graveyard to the battlefield, and I believe it's 6 mana to do so, or 5 mana. Anyway, so this is 7 mana, and then you get 2 cards. Again, it's going to be a nice, fun little EDH card, but I highly doubt that it's very... 7 mana better be doing something incredible in standard, and I don't think that it's quite to that point. I don't even think this is quite to the point, really, what you want to see in a sealed or a draft, as it's so situational. There's too many ifs in this card. You have to have 2 cards that are worth bringing back for the 7 mana cost, and yeah. All right, so then we'll go on to the Stratus Dancer. Stratus Dancer is a 2/1 flying with Megamorph, and when it's turned face up, counter target instant sorcery. You can Megamorph for only 2. Again, this is one of the more easier morphs because it's only going to be 5 mana to really get value out of it. And then it'll be a 3/2 flying. Again, this is going to be an amazing card in sealed or draft. In standard, I don't quite think it will get there. It's kind of nice in a tempo-based strategy, but again, it's very iffy on a 3rd turn to be using your mana for just a vanilla 2/2 creature, and then next turn it still has to stay alive, and then you have to hold up 2 mana to counter an instant sorcery spell. A lot of, again, ifs there, that if it's actually worth it, but again, a great card in sealed and draft. Then we have Sidisi Undead Vizier. I think that's how you say it. I'm sure someone on YouTube will tell me how I'm pronouncing this card wrong. Cool, it's a legendary creature, so it's eligible for Commander. It's a zombie Naga. Death Touch, Exploit. Now, this is the mechanic that I am so excited about. You know how I've been crying about there is no good sack outlet besides Butcher the Horde in Standard? Well, now here's a built-in sack outlet to cards when you cast them, when it enters the battlefield. So Exploits was when this creature enters the battlefield, you may sacrifice a creature, and then it does the exploits Ability: when Sidisi Undead Vizier exploits a creature, you may search your library for a card, put in your hand, then shuffle your library. So it's a tutor. You can kill a card to go get any other card, and a 4/6 Death Toucher for 5 mana is not bad whatsoever. This card can go grab your Palace Siege. You can then cast your Palace Siege, and yeah, just incredible value out of this card. Do I think that it will see standard play? I'll brew around it. I'm excited to brew around a Demonic Tutor type ability, and the ability to sack, like, think about it in your sealed pool. If you get like a Soul Ties Emissary, that's the manifest guy. When he dies, you get a manifest top card of your library. There is also I know there's like Jeskai Sage. When it dies, draw a card. So there's a lot of things that actually want to die in the format, and this just gives added value with the exploit. So very excited about the Sidisi Undead Vizier. All right, let's go to the Sandcrafter Mage, a common. The first common, all these have been rare so far, 1 mythic spoiled. So Sandcrafter Mage is a 2/2 for 3 mana. When there's a battlefield, Bolster. So Bolster is still in the format. This guy, if he's the only guy, can be a 3/3 for 2. Excellent card in draft or sealed. Ojetais? Summons. Put a 2/2 blue monk creature token with flying onto the battlefield, then rebound. You'll get 2 of them. Wasn't there a card out of like M13 that put 2 drakes into play for 4? So this is a little bit less of value. Then I guess you get it in 2 different turns. So if they have a board wipe, you'll still get value. It's a great card in sealed draft. More in sealed. This is a better card, but not going to see standard play. Absolutely not. Here we have a Silumgar Butcher. This guy is exploit, and when it exploits a creature, target creature gets -3/-3 until end turn. 5 mana is a little bit pricey. Does it have to enter the battlefield and may sacrifice a creature? So, does this still go off? I believe so. I believe that when you cast this and you decide to kill itself, then it will still get -3/-3. Maybe there's a ruling on that it actually has to still be in play to read the exploit, as this is part of the cast. Yeah, it should still trigger. So for 5 mana, you can -3/-3 again in sealed draft. That's not a problem. This is a very valuable card. Not good enough for standard though. We have a Sprinting Warbrute. Sprinting Warbrute attacks each turn if able, and the dash for 4, a 5/4. That is not bad at all. I think dash is still underrated. It's very powerful in sealed/draft in any limited type strategy. But very vanilla-like card. We've seen dashers. There's a 3 mana for a 4/2, and this is just the next step up, a 5/4 for 4 mana dash. This is actually very even 5 mana for a 5/4 isn't bad. And this is just one more card. And one of my favorite things to draft right now in Fate Reforged and Khans of Tarkir draft is I prioritize removal and then dual lands. And then I can guarantee cards like the 6/5 for 6 mana to just completely wheel, and those become my finisher. So I have this heavy control based deck, and then have just a big fatty with a fast clock be my finisher. So I'm thinking Sprinting Warbrute can play that role in the Dragons. All right, so Stampeding Elkherd. Stampeding Elkherd, 5 mana for 5/5. That's not bad for a common again. That's exactly what I like to see. And it's got this new mechanic called Formidable. And Formidable, whenever Stampeding Elkherd attacks, if creatures you control have total power 8 or greater, so if you have 3 more power somewhere, creatures you control game trample until end of turn. Not too shabby. Trample is one of those mechanics that can completely sway things in your side in a stalemate, in a clogged up board, in a sealed or draft. So another these are all very fine cards for commons in sealed and draft. All right, so we have an Airy Bowmasters, which has reach, a 4 mana for 3/4, not bad at all again in sealed. And then the Megamorph, if you turn it up, it can be a 4/5, but that is a high cost for that. So I think you'll rarely ever be doing this. Maybe just to surprise your opponent, but meh. And this one was spoiled a few days ago. This one is Dragonlord's Reaper. And I actually think this card is underrated. A lot of people are saying this card is absolute trash. I kind of disagree. It's gonna go in one of my commander decks. Now I can't even think of my commander. Vorath. Is that Vorath? Anyway, my commander likes to ditch cards from my hand to give it +X/+X, where X is the the converted mana cost at 7 mana. That's pretty sweet. I'll have to show you guys that deck sometime. I rarely ever use it. It's like I have like 4 commander decks that I play, and I rarely ever play that one. Usually I only play it with new players that don't have very powerful commanders, because it definitely isn't a powerful, or if I just feel like being a jerk to one player, the Voreth can actually dish out a ton of damage and commander damage, kill in 1 turn. So looking forward to putting this guy in there. But anyway, I think it's underrated because 7 mana with this type of ability isn't bad at all. So when it enters the battlefield, if you cast it from your hand, if there are 5 or more other creatures on the battlefield, destroy other creatures. For 7, at the time when you can cast this, there probably will be 5 or more other creatures on the battlefield, and this just completely board wipes your opponent and leaves you with a 5/6 dragon. So again, it's a lot of ifs for standard, but I don't think it's as terrible as a lot of people think it is. So anywho, that is the first 15 Dragons of Tarkir spoilers. I was doing this live. I hadn't even looked at these cards yet, and just glanced over them before I started recording. Hope you enjoyed this, because you get kind of a fair assessment without me really thinking through it. Just first impressions if I were to open these cards in a sealed type pool and think about their implications. Anyway, this has been Kevin with RogueDeckBuilder.com. Thanks for watching.